Love. I've heard that word before. Perhaps the most overused and least understood word in the history of language is the word love. Music speaks of love, doesn't it? And when music speaks of love, it usually speaks of love found or love lost. Don't talk of love. I've heard that word before, laments Simon and Garfunkel in their song I Am a Rock. And the confusion about the word love perhaps best expressed by Bette Midler 30 years ago when she sang, "Some say love it is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say love it is a razor that leaves your soul to bleed. Some say love it is a hunger, an endless and aching need. I say love it is a flower, and you its only seed." So love can hurt, and it can be very confusing. And sometimes the word is used so much that love becomes anything and everything, and then nothing at all. But the Greek people have 3 words they use to describe love, and maybe these 3 words will help us understand the meaning of authentic love that you and I are searching for. The first word they had was Eros, and Eros really means love that involves passions, attractions. And that's usually the way that love starts, isn't it? You're passionately, emotionally attracted to someone, and sometimes these emotions can be so overwhelming that all your wisdom disappears. It's the sort of love that leads teenagers to ask the priest, "How far can I go until it's a sin, Father?" And I always say, until you're not loving each other anymore, until you're taking rather than giving, when you're putting each other at risk, spiritually and emotionally, and even statistically. Your relationship is so important to you, yet Stanford University has suggested that people who are involved in premarital sex with their partner and then get married, that 70% of those relationships end up in divorce. So love has to go beyond passionate feelings, beyond being in love. And the distance between being in love and really loving someone should take at least a lifetime. Love has to be communicated, doesn't it? And that brings us to the second word the Greeks had, PhiLia. I'll love you if you'll love me. How will I know you love me? If you communicate it. People often say to me, "When did you decide to be a priest?" I always say, "Today." When do you decide to love someone? One day at a time. Yesterday's a canceled check. Tomorrow's a promissory note. The only day you have to communicate your love is today. For example, there was a man named Abe, and he was married to his beautiful wife, Sarah, for 60 years. And people always noticed that when they were in a restaurant together, they always really seemed to be listening to one another. And his friend said, "What's your secret? How come you still seem so much in love with each other?" And Abe said, "Oh, that's easy. Give her flowers on a Wednesday." "What?" "Yeah. She's expecting them on Valentine's Day. She's hoping for them on the weekend. But you give her flowers on a Wednesday? She'll know you love her." Love needs to be communicated. And love needs to be sustained. How is love sustained? In the same way in which Jesus sustained his love for us and said to his apostles at the Last Supper, "Love one another as I have loved you." How did he love us? Selflessly, sacrificially. If there is anything that brings loving relationships to a sad end, it's a failure to move from I and me to us and we. A wedding is never a simple 2-ring ceremony. It's a 3-ring ceremony. Engagement ring, wedding ring, and suffering. And what I mean by that is there cannot be any depth in a relationship without self-giving, without sacrifice. Again, one day at a time. Love is a lot of little things, a need to express each day in some little way that you love your wife, that you love your husband, and that you'll never go to bed angry at one another. So let us not be confused. Love involves feelings, sometimes very passionate feelings, but we shouldn't allow those feelings to make our decisions for us. Love must be communicated, and it must be communicated one day at a time in selfless little ways. Eros, PhiLia, Agape. So as the closing lyrics of that song by Bette Midler suggest, when your night has been too lonely and the road has been too long, and you think that love is only for the lucky and the strong, just remember, in the winter, far beneath the bitter snows, lies the seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes a rose.